This is the IMTS network, and I'm Stephen LaMarca. In this hour, we'll learn more about AMT, the Association for Manufacturing Technology.
And I'm Vanesa Powers. I am a database management specialist here at AMT, and I do everything that nobody else wants to do. As my boss would call it, data sanitation.
Ew.
It is my job to ensure the data that we use and distribute on a daily basis is accurate and accessible. You know, I think I might have the best job here at AMT. Stephen, what do you do all day?
I'm the Manufacturing Technology Analyst for AMT. I'm pretty sure I have the best job at AMT. I oversee and run experiments on our manufacturing test bed, which includes a 5-axis horizontal CNC mill. I actually am the only person at AMT who uses a machine tool on a daily basis. I also track research and development throughout the industry that goes into stuff that you get to see at IMTS.
Show off. Well, when I started working at AMT, I was surprised by the spectrum of services that AMT provides in addition to IMTS. For example, AMT provides its members, most of whom are IMTS exhibitors, with products and services that help them be competitive. This includes access to market, economic, and industry forecasts.
You'll hear more about the outlook for manufacturing from Chris Downs, AMT's Director of Strategic Analytics, and Pat McGibbon, AMT's Chief Knowledge Officer. That's at the end of the hour with their market preview.
AMT's Advocacy Department lobbies Congress for policies and programs that encourage research, innovation, and support to keep manufacturing strong in America.
The AMT Manufacturing Technology Department looks towards the future to see what technology trends manufacturers need to be successful and globally competitive.
Later today, you'll learn more about AMT SmartForce from Catherine Ross, Director of SmartForce Development, who will discuss AMT's efforts to encourage the next generation of young people to seek an education in STEM and pursue a career in advanced manufacturing.
Up next, you'll learn more about AMT's Global Services, which provides international advice, support, and global tech centers to help AMT members expand into foreign markets. Then we'll follow with an AMT Tech Trends podcast.
Hey, that's you.
It sure is. The hour closes with the market preview with Chris and Pat.
Hey, let's go.
Andiamo.
Headquartered in McLean, Virginia, the Association for Manufacturing Technology is the organization for American manufacturing technology companies. Globally, AMT and its international technology centers are the go-to resource for the manufacturing industry. In China, in India, Brazil, Mexico, and Eastern Europe, helping American companies to do business in foreign markets. Because 85% of their new business is international. But just as important, AMT opens American doors to foreign companies. Our tech centers and pavilions are like open marketplaces, where America's leading technology is on display, available to foreign companies hungry for the most advanced developments we have to offer. We are your bridge to the latest and best in American manufacturing technology. Simply put, the U.S. is a world leader in manufacturing technology. We lead in innovation, R&D, new materials and processes, and new technologies incubated within a broad network of colleges, universities, and government labs. American leadership is also about American character, our brains, ingenuity, and backbone. We want to be best. We want to try the untried. We're stubborn about succeeding with something new and creative, even when the risk of failure is high. Without risk, there's no progress. And so the world looks to us for what's new and what's better. From the latest in additive to advanced materials and sensors, automation, and nanoengineering. Every country has its unique culture, economic and manufacturing landscape, its own way of doing things. With its massive middle class, China is one of the world's largest makers of consumer products. AMT is there.
We receive a lot of local potential buyers or visitors. They want to know the latest technology and manufacturing technology. Quite often they bring their needs to us for high-end products, advanced products, so they can use AMT as a resource to find those advanced machine tools.
We're in Chennai, India. The country's manufacturing growth curve is on a sharp upswing, with a huge demand for traditional machine tools as well as emerging technologies. A leading sector is aerospace manufacturing for American firms like Boeing.
We try to create those programs where they can come and they see the technology in action. We also provide training facility so that members can use the machine at our center. It saves cost. It's a win-win situation for both.
AMT is in Mexico and Brazil.
Local manufacturers in Brazil and Mexico turn around to look at U.S. manufacturers is because of the technology, the innovations, and the advanced and state-of-the-art solutions that are provided. The U.S. is well recognized for the innovative solutions in manufacturing technology as well as productivity gains.
At AMT's Monterrey Tech Center, Mexican industry leaders expand their opportunities through connections to our member companies north of the border.
The benefit of working with AMT is that we can access state-of-the-art solutions and technology. We can fast-forward product launching as we have a direct connection with the manufacturers of specialized equipment.
We have a cluster of technology and of knowledge that they can come and see, and at one single ride, if you will, they will be able to see a comprehensive array of solutions and technology-based solutions. It allows them to really fast-track the deployment of the marketing strategy as well as the sales strategy.
The Association of Manufacturing Technology has been an excellent catalyst to foster the growth of the manufacturing industry.
In Brazil, AMT is affecting advancements in the industry as well.
AMT São Paulo Technology Center is really the main gateway between the American producers and the end users located in Brazil. We have the right resources in our center, professionals coming from the industry who have all the capabilities and abilities to perform field services to our members. Whatever the Brazilian company needs in terms of services, our tech center is able to support.
AMT's reach extends to Central and Eastern Europe, where it advises manufacturers.
American technology has a reputation, and especially for more sensitive industries. Those industries are being developed now in particularly Central Europe, like aerospace, like automotive on a big scale. Precision engineering actually requires high quality technology.
We share what is new in the manufacturing arena with the end user community, so it allows them to expand their thought process. And we will continue being the beacon of knowledge for the local manufacturing industry.
AMT is your bridge to leading-edge information technology for manufacturers, for optimizing machine tool and additive manufacturing performance. AMT also spearheaded development of MT Connect, an open-source XML-based communication standard to maximize interoperability of machines, devices, and clients. MT Connect has seen explosive growth as the platform standard for manufacturers, with almost a third of the 10,000 known users outside the US, in countries like India and China, where high-tech automation is rapidly growing. Our tech centers are ready to help you adopt MT Connect, a free and open standard, as a solution to your networking infrastructure and factory IT challenges. And AMT goes deeper, with a full lineup of business intelligence tools, webinars, committees and conferences, and IMTS, the preeminent manufacturing trade show in North America. We are the focal point for the manufacturing technology industry worldwide, and through our tech centers and pavilions, the go-to resource for international companies seeking the best connections to our American members. It goes beyond hardware and software and emerging technology. It's also about bridging cultural gaps to create strong relationships, both business and personal. At home in the U.S., we are fully committed to helping our members succeed globally. For you, we'll do whatever it takes to help you do the same.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Tetrans podcast, where we discuss the latest manufacturing technology news and research. I am Benjamin Moses, the Director of Manufacturing Technology, and I'm here with...
Stephen LaMarca, the Manufacturing Technology Analyst.
Nicely nice. So you catch your business card there. Someday you'll get it.
We had it last time we recorded.
Yeah.
It was perfect.
That was fine.
We screwed it up. I screwed it up.
That's all right. How's everything going, Steve?
Everything's going well.
Good. I realized something today when I was driving around, going to my favorite place, the library. So I noticed issue with their sprinkler system. So I've been running an automated sprinkler. I'm calling it automated, but realistically it's a bunch of garden hoses with some spiked sprinkler heads. The cheapest implementation, the way it's automated, is some standard timers.
It's still home automation.
It's home automation. So I've had issues with one of the sprinkler heads not working all the time. For some reason, it just stopped working. It's just spraying in one direction, dumping water in one direction.
Yeah.
So I'm at the library. I look over and I see this fully automated pop-up head, professional system done with one sprinkler just dumping water right in some corner. And then I realized, great, this guy with the fully professional system has the exact same problems that my little $200 system has.
So it made you feel good.
It made me feel good. And
you're all in the same boat.
Exactly. And that's the big takeaway that hit me again when I realized that, these small systems that we set up, our test bed, we're going through the test bed to find problems to see how it scales to bigger systems. So if you're a small company doing small automated systems, you're going to have the same problems that a bigger factory does. All the problems are basically the same. Now, you do, one caveat I will mention, that you do have scale problems. So if I just go to a bigger building, now I've got much more thermal distortion, much more things that are just because it's big problems.
Yeah.
But in terms of functional technical problems, I have a robot here, I have 10 robots there. They all face the same problem. And that was an interesting revelation again, and that was reinforced. That I felt good.
And it helps you better yourself, better your system. And so it's a good reasoning why everybody needs a test bed.
Everybody needs it. I'm so happy we have our test bed also.
That's right.
Speaking of which, what's going on in the test bed?
Well, let me tell you what's wrong with our test bed.
Wait a second. Too many problems today.
So, as you know, I've been having a lot of problems with the B table. The B table stalls. I'll be in the middle of a 5-axis operation, and the B table will stop turning. It'll get hung up on something and start stalling.
Right.
And that's the belt that drives the B table, rides up, slips off of its axis of operation, and rides up against the B table cover, and it generates just enough friction to stop that B table from moving. And we've scrapped a few 5-axis parts because of this now.
Right.
And for a while, the short-term fix, if you can call it that, more like maintenance, is, just about before every operation, I have to open up the machine, make sure the belt is aligned properly, make sure it's clean, maybe apply a little bit of lube to make sure everything's happy, close it back up, then home the machine and get started doing with whatever I'm doing.
Okay.
It's tedious. You have to do that every time.
Yep.
No kind of like good thing we're just an association, because if we were a full production facility, nobody's doing that every time they run one part.
Yeah, so I'll carry on that.
Mr. Experience.
I have seen. So you're not doing that when you run one part. You will,
batch, though.
Yeah, you will do that if you're trying to limp along, which I've seen people limp machines along. That a problem does come up. They figure out the Band-Aid that should get you by till you call the technician to put in the permanent fix.
Right.
They'll keep running that Band-Aid month after month after month, and it becomes standard procedure as part of the startup sequence for machines. And, one of the articles we're going to talk about later on is one of the 7 layers of waste. Okay. And that is unnecessary motion. So you're wasting time. You're, losing missed opportunity for parts that you could have run.
Right.
And you're inducing additional costs by having this person do this thing over and over again when she just had it fixed.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Well, let's go on. I'm not at a permanent fix yet, but we are a step closer.
Yep.
I went and gotten another back and forth with Pocket NC, and their customer service is incredible.
Good.
They just sent me last week. I got the box with 2 new stepper motors in it. And the stepper motors aren't the issue, but it's what's attached to the stepper motors, which is a pulley, a permanently fixed pulley that drives the belt that drives the table.
Okay.
These new redesigned pulleys that came out on the more recent version of the V1, which we have the V1.
Right.
Have the pulleys have a lip to keep the belt aligned at all times.
Right.
And so the belt doesn't slip. And so great. Sounds like an amazing fix. Pocket NC didn't charge us at all for them.
Right.
They charged us $10 for the shipping, which
Sure.
was killer.
That's
this could
reasonable.
be a $10 permanent fix. Could be.
Right.
Unlikely, but it could be. So I'm looking at these new steppers, and while I'm really looking forward to installing them this
Sure.
week. It'll be fun to see what it does. I'm looking at them. There is a problem.
Oh, okay.
But before I've even got them installed, there
Right.
is a slight problem. The lip that keeps the belt aligned onto the center of the pulley.
Yep.
Is all like, it looks chewed up. It's just poor, I guess poor manufacturing. They're
Sure.
plastic pulleys,
Right.
Delrin maybe.
It's not a complete circle on top. It's kind
It's
of
not it looks like, it literally looks like a dog chewed it. And it's just the lip, the
Sure.
actual ribbed part of the pulley
Right.
that keeps the belt from slipping.
That's fully formed.
That looks fine.
Right.
That's fully formed. The backside lip, which
Right.
the old pulleys have a bottom lip.
Sure.
They're just missing the top lip. It's just the top lip on
Right.
these new ones that is chewed
Just
to all
gone.
hell.
and there's a fair amount of
and-
material, so I'm not overly concerned about it.
I'm not
It's
concerned.
just-
It's going to stay. The belt is. I know the belt is going to stay aligned with these new pulleys.
Yes.
The new question is are we picking the lesser of two evils?
Oh.
And the answer is probably yes.
Right.
Because this new lip is probably going to chew up the drive belt.
Right.
And after a year or so,
Sure.
and that's if we do a lot of machining and
Right.
use the B table a lot. That belt is probably going to get chewed up, and we'll need to replace it.
Yeah.
But it's the lesser of two evils. I'd rather replace one belt every year than realign the same belt that has
Every day,
stayed
basically.
together every time
Yeah.
I use the
Yeah.
machine.
And that's a good point. I mean, you're shifting maintenance schedule. So now you had a problem, you have a temporary fix where you induce
Exactly.
more maintenance, fix the problem, but you have a check-in. Basically, you're checking the belt similar to like a car.
Yeah.
Right? Checking the accessory belt, and it's pretty easy to check too. So it's not like it seems overly complex. And,
Yeah.
and,
And if you look at cars, I mean,
Right.
different model years of a car, at what point does a Band-Aid need to be replaced with
Right.
a full redesign of a
Yep.
particular part or component?
And this will be super helpful once we are able to pull data from the test bed, from
Mm-hmm.
the Pocket NC. So we are able to record how long actual runtime, machine time, that belt is seen, and we can project
Yeah.
how much time the future belts will have before we start getting concerned. Because we had a discussion offline about catastrophic failures.
Yeah.
There's no reason to have a catastrophic failure. There's some life that's predicted. We should be able to start being worried or replace the parts before a catastrophic failure occurs. And
Absolutely.
I think collecting this data will be super useful for that.
Yeah.
It's awesome. That's good. So what's
But in the short term, before I
Yeah.
go, and I will tell you what's going on next.
Okay.
If this doesn't work or
Right.
doesn't work as planned or just isn't sufficient, the final step, the plan C,
Yep.
is just we've got a quote from Pocket NC to just fully replace the machine.
Yeah.
Not to replace it, to upgrade
Yeah,
it
yeah,
from the
yeah.
V1 to the V2.
I was going to say, because I'm looking for budget money, and
Yeah.
it's not for replacement, it's for upgrading.
It's for upgrading. And,
Okay.
And this doesn't have any belts. It's gear,
it's-
direct gear drive. So that
That's
would
gonna
be
feel
nice.
good, yeah.
But getting back into the things, after Elena went back up to college
Yep.
a few weeks ago in Massachusetts, WPI, now I'm just getting back to what I was working on before she did her time here.
Yep.
And that's just getting back into cutting brass, and
Okay.
I'm going to move forward and making my watch dials.
That's going to be exciting.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I'm looking forward to it. I got some new tools for
Good.
it that
Yeah.
I think are going to fit the bill perfectly.
Good. Transition to a couple of articles that we found. So I found one about mobile workstations. Now, on the surface, it doesn't sound that interesting, but Steve, you've been in a factory a couple of times. Is the operator, when you've toured factories, are the operators stationary? They're moving around quite a bit. What's your perspective on how much movement they have?
What I've seen is that they move around quite a lot.
Yep. Yeah.
They're only glued in front of the machine for a fraction of the run time.
Yep.
And it's probably, from my experience, what I do, I would assume it's at the very beginning or the very end of a cycle.
Yeah.
But operators are pretty,
Yeah.
free of moving around.
Yep. And I found this article on the Fabricator, and they talk about this specific application of in the packaging cell, so that they have this huge open area where they're packaging pallets of boxes and stuff that are ready to ship, and the operator is moving from one side of the building, one side of the room to the other, so it's all over the place. So maybe 40 feet of travel between locations. And I'll say that's fairly common in any manufacturing, moving from machine to machine. But in today's digital world, where all the information is stored on a computer or you have to access it through a computer, having a printout where you can carry it with you, being able to be mobile with the operator is kind of a problem. The problem statement is you've got cables and all supporting material for the digital apparatus that you need to go with the operator. So phones are too small. Tablets, I think, are way too small unless you're doing...
Really?
I mean, if you're going to pull up a drawing, a blueprint to help support a drawing or put in instructions, that's not the best environment, especially ergonomically. I mean, typing in a little tablet as you're standing there isn't necessarily
You're telling me you need a full mouse and keyboard.
A full mouse and keyboard, right? You want to be productive, right? The most efficient way to do that kind of data exchange is through a mouse and keyboard. So what the article goes over is they have a mobile cart, so a pretty robust cart with a computer, a printer, label, and stuff to throw away for the operator, so trash cans for the operator, a full cart that the operator can move around. Now, the interesting thing that they implement is obviously the laptop is Wi-Fi enabled, so you're wireless there. But if you have a printer, if you got a computer, if you have a couple other accessories, how are you getting power to that? Great question. They have four giant lithium batteries in the base of the cart that power the laptop, power the printer, that powers everything that the operator needs to be able to survive in that external environment. Okay. So it's interesting that in this specific cell of packaging, he's making printer labels, he's documenting shipping invoices. He's doing everything he needs at that location, far away from any electric outlets, any Cat5 connection.
That is awesome.
And he's able to work roughly the day. I mean, it's powering a laptop, a low-powered laptop, a printer that's running off and on, and some other accessories. So it was fairly interesting implementation of something that's conceptually simple. Like, how do I get this person mobile with today's advances in batteries that you could probably power this one operator for those batteries for an entire 10, 12-hour shift if need be. Right. So I thought that was a really cool implementation.
And that's a pretty easy fix, too.
It is. It is.
Because, I mean, you could have longer term, maybe certainly higher cost things like a streetcar style cable system. Along the walkways of a factory floor. Or you could have parking spots where the operator can park the workstation that would be, the floor would have an induction pad.
Those are all just restrictions to the operator though. Right? And the interesting, so this is great for the operator, gives him full universal control of where he wants to go, but what's the return on investment of the business? And that's one of the layers of lean manufacturing. One of the 7 layers of waste within lean manufacturing is excessive movement. So if I have a box over there and I got to go back and forth to the printer, that's 30 seconds. But if I have a couple hundred boxes, that adds up pretty quick. So in the article, it actually talks about saving several thousands of dollars or increasing your productivity so you're not missing opportunity by just, hey, let's get the computer at point of use. So it's a pretty solid business case. I mean, the lithium batteries aren't super cheap, but it's a really reasonable implementation for solid return on investment.
And that is just that's the wildest thing, because I'm not as experienced as you are in the industry, and it's crazy listening to you talk about this and conveying the weight and the importance of things like that on just 30 seconds. Right. Because it's very Formula One-esque. The smallest thing, the smallest $40,000 investment can shave a tenth of a second off your lap.
And it's so on the surface, you save 30 seconds, but what that enables you to do is to convey a culture of efficiency and improvement. So if the technician sees that we're investing in saving this amount of time, I think what I've seen in the past is the operator feels empowered to bring up more ideas, to see other ways to improve the work that he wants to get done. So it not only saves money, but also it empowers the operator to feel like the work is valuable. Good.
That's awesome.
So you had an article?
Yeah, let me tell you mine. Here's the headline, and the headline is most of the story, which is ultra-fast 3D printer Nexa 3D taps former Uber exec Jeff Holden to join board of directors.
Nice.
And so I posted this article in our Slack channel for industry news.
Yep.
And I posted a little joke underneath. It really isn't that funny, but overwork and underpay the machines.
The
very,
Uber model.
very Uber style. Yeah, bring the Uber model to manufacturing. Anyway, so have you heard of Nexa 3D before?
No, it doesn't sound familiar. I'm not too keen on the plastics.
I hadn't heard of them either, so I took a deeper look into what they offer, and they seem pretty cool. So, allegedly, they have ultra-fast stereolithography, SLA 3D printers, or production additive manufacturing.
Sure. That's a pretty crowded market, but yeah.
Really crowded market, but I mean, it's also really quickly developing additive market.
Yeah.
And these machines that they sell, they advertise as being fully compatible for full automation facilities.
That's cool.
So you buy these machines, you put them in a cell, and you walk away. Once you get the integration all ironed out and down, these are not like human interface machines, that you put them in a cell and they do their thing. They're meant to be work with full automation, which is really wild because they have things on these machines like self-washing. They wash the parts after they're done being made. The machines wash themselves, and the machines are even capable of in-machine, I don't know what the term they use, but they can cure the part coming out of the machine in that machine.
That's cool.
Curing is done closed-loop.
Sure.
But as the part comes out of the machine, it's already been cured and heat treated, I assume.
So basically, there's no additional processing that needs to be done once it leaves the machine. You just take it out, and it just moves on to shipping.
Exactly. It's pretty wild.
That's cool.
It was nice to look into.
Yeah, I like that. That's I feel like that's where they separate themselves in the market. Is sure they say they're fast, sure they produce probably an accurate part, but moving additive into an automated process because of their long run times, and that enables you to do a lot of different things where a human doesn't have to be involved on that type of process, helps additive go further into production a lot more.
Would you say SLA is the most common form of additive that's used in mass production?
Yeah, I mean, if you do it by part count, it's a little tough to determine that because there's a lot of different markets getting into different ways to grow. Especially with plastics. Probably.
So I posted another article. This wasn't industry news because I didn't use Tech Trends to find it. I found this doing my own personal research on audio. And there's an IEM company, an in-ear monitor company called Ultimate Ears. And I just recently heard about them, but they are a subsidiary of Logitech. Logitech owns them, but they don't want to go by the Logitech name. They call them Ultimate Ears. They're really high-end in-ear monitors. They're custom fit, so whoever's buying them needs to send them a mold of their inner ear. And so they have, the person has to set an appointment to go to a place to get a mold done of their inner ear. Then they send them, that place sends them to California to Ultimate Ears. And Ultimate Ears 3D scans the mold. They edit the mold on what the shape of the monitor should be look like in a CAD program. And then they send it to a
print shop, and off it goes.
They sent it to their own in-house print. They have their own print shop.
That makes sense.
And they have been using SLA since 2009 to make these IEMs.
That's good. Yeah.
It's wild. So the market on, I'll just digress real quick, but the market on IEMs has blown up this year.
According to you.
2019.
Sure.
No, it really has.
I'll take your word on that.
And this company's been doing it 10 years earlier.
10 years earlier.
And it's just wild.
Yeah. I like how, before I get into the last article, I think we should get into esports.
Esports?
Yeah, Logitech's big on esports. I think we should get into that.
In the podcast?
So the last article I want to talk about is hydrogen embrittlement. So this is a research being done in oil and gas, and I found this. Where did I find this article? On 3D printing industry, and it's titled "Degradation of Additive Manufactured Parts in Oil and Gas Industry." So one question, Steve, do you know what hydrogen embrittlement is?
No.
Good. Not a lot of people do. So it's the idea of I've got a fully formed part that's solid, say a metallic part.
Right.
In this case, if the application is oil and gas, say it's on the boring head, so it's deep within the earth. in this application, it's hydrogen exists in the atmosphere around it.
Right.
And there's enough pressure and temperature that the hydrogen is actually penetrating the part. And the hydrogen is attacking the grains in between.
Yeah.
It's an intergranular attack.
Because it's very small,
It's very
so
small,
it can,
so
it
it's
can get
actually-
into the smallest of pores.
Exactly. And if it's at temperature, the part's even bigger, so it's able to penetrate. And the hydrogen is actually attacking the grain structure and it's creating cracks subsurface. Those cracks then propagate to the surface, and then you have catastrophic failure of the part itself. And that's all because the hydrogen is penetrating the material. So what they're looking at is they want to additively manufacture some parts and use it in oil and gas. In this particular case, they're doing Inconel 718, which has been around in
Whoa.
aerospace for a long time.
At least since the 60s. We just haven't been able to manufacture or process it until recently.
Well, at least additively. I mean, so it's fairly easy to process in the anneal condition. Then you age it so you get the full strength. And aerospace has been using that for a while because of the strength at high temperature. It's pretty solid. But it looks like they're trying to get into applications in oil and gas, and they're doing some testing to see whether or not this will have hydrogen embrittlement as a potential cause for failure in oil and gas. So it's an interesting test. Now, the article, I will debate. One thing about the article is that they say high temperature is 500 degree Fahrenheit. That's not really high. That's not that high.
That's not high.
Get a hold of yourself. It's fine.
That's an oven. That's a household oven.
I bake cupcakes at that temperature.
Don't use water, use milk. Keep it moist.
That's a good article. I liked it. I like the fact that they're trying to look ahead a little bit, trying to back to the catastrophic failure issue, right? They're trying to see if this will cause a failure. They did mention one Kazakhstan oil field, one of the biggest oil fields in Kazakhstan. I don't know why they chose Kazakhstan. Very nice place. But the entire oil field was shut down for 2 years. So if you can imagine if you're a country where one of your biggest oil fields is shut down for 2 years, that's a fairly big problem that is affecting your GDP and things like that. So I think this is fairly forward-looking and good for the research group that's getting into it.
Cool stuff, man.
Yeah, I'm super happy for the articles today. Thanks for the testbed update.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, have a good week, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
This is the IMTS Network. I'm Chris Downs, and I'm here with AMT Chief Knowledge Officer Pat McGibbon. He's been forecasting the economic outlook for the MT industry for over 3 decades now. Pat, thanks for joining us today.
My pleasure.
So there's been a lot of talk about a recession, about interest rates, about a trade war. Can you help us wade through a little bit? Let's take the trade war first.
Okay.
What's going on?
Wow, that's a litany. I mean, you go back to April of 2018, and what we had was the first sets of the Chinese tariffs. About the same time, we hear about a 232 action on aluminum and steel, where we're going to manage the amount of material that comes into this country so that we have a chance to refoster regrowth of our metals industries. Then more Chinese tariffs, and then the 301 takes a step up. During the whole midst of this, we're renegotiating NAFTA 2.0, USMCA, and then bam, you throw in this latest one, the Japanese and Chinese trade talks. Apparently we have signed an agreement to agree on free trade with Japan, and signed an agreement to eventually agree on how to reduce our 301 issues with China, which is primarily centered around intellectual property issues. So it's a litany of different cases that are, as from my point of view, it kind of created the downturn in manufacturing artificially. I think that if we could have found a different way of doing this, although you've asked me in the past, well, what would that be, and I'm not sure, to deal with the issues individually. If we could find a different tool, I think we would have come out a little bit better, managed to keep the manufacturing growth that was going on 17, 18, rolling along into 19 and 20.
Now, there have been a couple successes, right? We talked about the USMCA that's gone through. There's the Japanese agreement to agree. And even just recently, the Chinese tariffs, there seemed to be some momentum there, as there seemed to be kind of a phase 1 agreement. What can you tell us about that?
Well, it's not ironic, it happens to be timely. Talking to our man in China, Xinbin Li, the Chinese are already in their newspapers just hours after we released what was going on, kind of stepping back from what the U.S. representatives said about the agreement. What they say they've done is that, assuming that we can come across with all the things that were on the sidebars on this particular agreement to agree letter, then we're in good shape. But they pointed out there's a lot of work to get done before December 1st, when the additional tariffs come on to Chinese products, before this agreement to agree becomes an agreement we can all live with.
So do you think things are going to get better before or they're going to get worse? So what direction do you think this is headed?
I definitely think they're going to get worse before they get better. Let's take a look at the two main trade issues right now. You've got the 232, where we're trying to regrow the steel and aluminum industry. You don't do that overnight. So you're talking about tariffs being in place for years. With the machine tool industry, we did 2 5-year agreements, VRAs, and we managed to get probably half a dozen or a dozen companies to blossom out of that. Two most well-known probably were Fidel and Haas, and certainly some companies like Herco benefited for the rest from the very aggressive competition from overseas. So the 232 one, if it's going to achieve what it's trying to achieve, is going to be here for a while. On the flip side, you take 301, where you're trying to protect ourselves from some of the things that are considered unfair trade practices by the Chinese. And there are things and issues like IP. First things, you got to find it. Once you find it, you got to take it through the court system there, and then their court system demonstrate they're going to support the rule of law. That's not something that happens in a matter of 60 days or 90 days. So whatever agreement we're going to have is going to have some kind of provision in it that we're going to monitor these things. And so I think that we're going to be in these trade wars for a little bit longer than just a few months. Either we totally give up, which I don't think we're going to do now, or we get to our objective, which is going to take several years.
So taking a turn away from trade for a bit, we've also seen a cut in interest rates recently. And if you look at the internal Fed meeting notes, even the people inside the Fed have kind of mixed opinions on cutting the interest rate.
It's a I don't know, moral support for the growth of the economy. What they've cut isn't going to really do much, particularly when interest rates are already at such low rates. I think we're at the prime rate just still below 4, around 3.6 or something like that. It's crazy, but it's a signal that the government wants to help to see our economy get back on track, and we'll probably see some other even more aggressive actions as we get further into 2020.
Now, how does that square? Because a lot of the economic information we've been getting out of the government is still fairly positive. Unemployment's almost at an all-time low. There's still a lot of sectors that are doing really well. How do we feel about using the R word, recession? Is that really something that we think is on the horizon?
Again, I think it is possibly on the horizon. Let's take the China trade war. China, in our industry, represents 1/3 of all the manufacturing technology bought in the world. You can't have that much of your opportunity taken off the plate and expect your markets and your industry, domestic industry, to be able to grow. The same thing's true about the tariffs in general for people who make products to support agricultural growth, particularly livestock in China. They're suffering right now. They have no place that consumes soybeans in the level that the Chinese consume soybeans. So you just can't take that and start selling it to Brazil or China, to Japan or somewhere else. So this, like I said, I think is kind of artificial. But in the end, we have the opportunity to take that back. And certainly, when you talk about indicators, yeah, sure. The PMI is down to the lowest level it's been since June of 2009 during the Great Recession. And consumer confidence is down to levels that are comparable to just before the election of Trump back in 2016. But still, you take a look at durable goods orders, 250 billion plus. Backlogs are going up on a seasonally adjusted basis. Car production is at an annual rate of over 17 million. That's one of the highest rates we've had in the last 4 years. If you take even machine tool production down, what we're projecting, 15 to 20%, it still would make it one of the top years since the Great Recession in machine tool order and consumption. So there's a lot of really positive things still in the economy. It's ready to kick into gear given the right situations. And those situations is to resolve these trade issues and get the Asian economies as well as the European economies back on track with the U.S. And boom, we'll probably see the word recession disappear from people's lips in a matter of weeks after this is done. But again, my guess is that we're here for a while.
Sure, well, let's hope that's the case, that we get through it quickly. But focusing down a little bit, you mentioned a couple sectors. If we do end up headed into a recession, what are some of the industries that are most at risk, that will most be affected by a recession?
Well, affected by a recession, certainly all the consumer product ones, appliances, HVAC, which are really on a roll right now, could come to its dead stop if a recession kicked in and people stopped making decisions on housing. Some of the ones that are capital intensive, such as mining and exploration, they're making holds as well. Then you've got some that are not impacted by what's going on with the trade wars. The auto industry is more a technological change. No one wants to be the last person to buy a $400 million transmission line when transmissions potentially could be off the table in just a matter of 5 to 10 years. So the automobile industry is harmed right now. Aerospace industry has a little bit of an issue, which we all know about, the 737 MAX. But as at your conference last week, the analysts told us they see that probably coming off the table by December. Let's hope, because that's a great boom to our industry if we can get the aerospace industry going back up again. Because even with just the Airbus business we have right now, aerospace is one of the best industries for our members. Then medical equipment, still very strong, expected to grow because people my age are going to become more bionic. And then off-road and highway construction, another really good possibility, because 55,000 bridges that are in such bad shape that they are on the critical list as potential failures in the next 2 to 5 years. And the positive point here is that Democrats and Republicans both agree that this issue exists, both want to do something about it, both have talked in the words of hundreds of billions and even trillions of dollars to address this issue nationwide. So if there's something we can agree about and something we can do about it, this would be the one issue that we probably could get through Congress during the course of this next election phase. And I certainly hope so, because it would be a great boon to an industry that means a lot to us when it's in full swing.
Sure. Now, what do you see as the next big industry in the MT economy? What's the new opportunity out there for those that don't necessarily see that far into the future? What should they be looking at in the next years to come? Well,
I think one of the best ones is artificial intelligence. It's been in manufacturing for, over 15 years. You go back to GM's acquisition of a little software product for an executive assistant. They turned it into their car care system. I'm trying to think what the name of what it was, but the point is that anywhere you were in the United States, you could press a button and an artificial intelligence system would assess what's going on with your car, where you're located, and give you the best options for addressing your particular need. And then you could step it up even at a higher level if you had to get emergency services. Today, we see artificial intelligence being used in a wide range of products and processes in manufacturing. And there's a group out of South Africa called Data Profit. 16 great cases of it being used in foundries, automotive industry, in ways that we've never seen before, making them one of the hot prospects as a new venture capital company in the world. So artificial intelligence, augmented reality, and of course additive, just going phenomenal. And it's one of the reasons why you'll see even more of it when we get to IMTS 2020.
Great. Pat, thank you for joining us. This is the IMTS Network. I'm Chris Downs, here with AMT Chief Knowledge Officer Pat McGibbon. Thank you.